Alright, welcome everyone online and also to hear our podcast for today. And to this Oakay Zoomer channel is actually a platform whereby we really kind of dedicate to understanding Gen Z people views, okay, of today. So today we have our guest Anne with us, and that's where we will get to hear more some juicy stuff about her. Alright, cool. Alright, Anne, why don't you can start the ball rolling by introducing yourself and tell us more about yourself.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Anne. I'm currently a trading consultant. I've been in this line for a while. This year will be my 4th year. Yeah, so that's what I do for a living. What else should I share about?
To help us to understand you better, right, and some juicy stuff about you. Okay, is there something in your younger? Today's topic we are basically wanting to find out from Anne, who is actually a Gen Y or millennials, that they what are the things that she wished she knew when she was younger. Alright, so let's start from there. So when in your younger days, what are your hobbies? What are your idols? Who are your idols? And who are the people that make you go gaga and crazy over?
Okay, alright, wow, I'm going to expose quite a bit about myself. Okay, I'm very introverted. I think you can tell. I'm still like a bit awkward, very new to all this live streaming and stuff. So I'm a bookworm mostly. I read a lot. Then in terms of things like music, shows I watch, nowadays I listen to a lot of types of music. But in my younger days, I think also a lot of my students can relate. I really liked K-pop, anime, manga and things like that. Because I'm very introverted, right? So that's the kind of things I really enjoy. And there were bands that I followed. Some I follow until now, from school days until now, which is a very long time. So I actually brought some merchandise along.
Show us. If you happen to know this band, means that you're of the same era with her. Okay? And if you do not know, it's either you're older or younger.
Okay, so I think I will show the anime manga part first. So I was a very big Naruto fan. So it's a very long running series about ninjas and stuff. I think a lot of people are very familiar because there's a spin-off now. So I have something from my secondary school days. I have a friend who was very nice. My secondary school friend, she went to Japan and she got this headband for me. So it's a real merchandise. Okay, it's wearable, but I don't think I will wear it. I
was about to ask you for that.
It's okay, not today. And the other thing is, I mentioned I like K-pop, right? So very into, especially like the boy bands and things like that. So one of the first groups I liked, there's still some of them are active, is Super Junior. So I have the album here that I actually bought in Korea on holiday. Because I was a very big fan, so I went to buy it, and there's still like they give a lot of freebies, so it's still in there, still quite intact. Then the other group I like, they are called M Black, but they've disbanded sadly. So this is an album also. They were my favorite in secondary school. I really followed them very closely, like their schedules, and partly why I learned Korean is because I wanted to understand what they were saying. So still very good quality. I feel like this is turning into like my album showcase, going a bit off topic. But this definitely took a lot of my free time. To me, it was really, especially like in the stresses of schoolwork, and it was a bit like an escape, a lot of entertainment. Because these stars, they go on shows and it's very funny and they do a lot of funny things, very comedic things. So it was a very big stress relief, and their music is very upbeat, very catchy. So it was, in my younger days, it was really, very good.
So it's very interesting, right? That actually she kind of get into the anime, the manga, and then the K-pop kind of boy bands, right?
Yeah.
To all the people who are following the K-pop, especially BTS, there's a very sad news. I think it's just today or yesterday that they decided to hang up their mic and everything. They're going to stop for a while.
Oh, okay.
All right,
okay.
and they are going to have an indefinite hiatus. Is it
Hiatus.
hiatus?
Yeah.
Right, and that's where I think to all those who are followers, and ardent fan of them, you'll be a sad people. Okay, but for you, right, you kind of created. Okay, what actually made you, right, want to venture into a world of mangas and wanting to find out what Korean, their songs and everything is telling you or helping you?
I think at that point in time in secondary school, my friends were a very big influence. So my particular group of friends in secondary school, they were the ones who introduced me to anime, manga, and that whole culture and K-pop also. So they were really into it, and I was someone who was a bit more of a follower kind of personality. So I really just listen what you're listening to. I got into it and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, that's what really got me into it. Really a lot of peer influence, but some of it was I wanted to find more. So I decided to search on my own, and then I discovered okay, I can learn the language. There's all these things I can.
Yeah, so help me to understand, right? Because I'm not really of the era. Okay, I won't say idol, but it's like really long time ago. So I'm almost like an antique piece in a museum, right? So help me to understand, because I realized that for millennials and even Gen Z, they actually love to they're actually ardent fans of K-pop and especially the boy bands, right? Even though we may not know, right, their language, their culture, but somehow we are drawn to them. Somehow we are attracted to them, right? So just like you mentioned that you actually want to know what they're singing and what they are, kind of stuff.
Yes.
So what is your key takeaways actually from all this, songs that you're listening and even the anime, manga, that kind of world that you actually got into?
Wow, takeaways. I don't think I really thought that far at the point in time, because it was really, to me it was really entertainment, a bit of like escapism as well. But I think having those common interests with my friends, it helped, because in a way we're speaking the same language. In that way, like our interests, and we talk about this character, this artist. Okay, I know who you're talking about. Oh, I saw their Instagram posts and things like that. So yeah, we're speaking the same language. I think the other thing is, I think especially the artists, their lyrics. There's just something about it sometimes that's very encouraging, and the way that they structure like their fan culture is that they really seem like they want to reach out to fans. Yeah, they create social media accounts. They do a lot of things where they will talk to their fans.
They actually interact, right?
Yes. So
even online.
so that is really I think that was really a big draw.
Okay.
Yeah. Then for anime, manga. I think also because I like books, I like stories, novels. So I just like finding new stories and good stories, good narratives. So I think that's the main thing. I think it also helped me to increase my creativity. Yeah, because I really like English in secondary school. So I really
very common,
I really like narrative writing. So I think that also was a big draw for me. I was a very imaginative kid. So I really liked those worlds that you bring.
Nice. So for those who actually come online, alright, Eve, alright, you do not know this side of Anne. That's where in today's podcast you actually get to know that she, in her younger days, she actually wanted to go into another world where it could be in her terms maybe it's a way of escaping, but it's another kind of world that she wants to dive in and interact, alright, and in that sense live in there. Alright, so okay, coming to today's topic, right? That I think people always say that things are always clearer on hindsight, right? When we look back, we're like, oh, these are lessons learned and so on and so forth. So I believe, right, that when you have followed certain K-pop idols, band, or even certain narrative, it could be English, it could be some other culture, right? It's kind of stories. What is something that, on the hindsight, when you look back, is you go things like, oh, I wish I knew this when I was much younger so that I can, so and so forth. You can have avoided this pitfall or whatsoever.
I think definitely, I think my family, especially my parents, would agree that my time management could have been a lot better because there were times where I think...
Is it a common problem that parents always have with the children? Mine also, you know.
Yeah, because more so because these interests, you know, after school, when I come back, all I want to do is watch my shows, catch up on what the artists are doing, listen to their music, like just go down the YouTube rabbit hole and just watch their shows and everything. So that really ate into my revision and homework time, even all the way to my critical O-level year. So
exams.
Yeah, so I think definitely managing my time. That actually it's not that I don't have time for these things. If I had learned how to manage my time or be willing to put in the work to manage my time, then maybe I could have done a bit better.
Actually, on that note, right, I actually had a very different thinking, slightly different thinking.
Okay.
I'm also into this wanting to venture out. Not textbook and me are not friends. Okay, we are totally like strangers to one another. So once I got back home, or even in school, right, when the teacher said, "Oh, open the textbook," I'll kind of zone off, right, and then I actually in the world. Actually, I have a slight regret for myself. When on the hindsight, I was thinking that because of certain social pressure and peer pressure, and then the teachers would tell me like, if you're not going to listen in the class, I'm going to tell your parents and the teachers' parents meeting kind of stuff. So that fear kind of like, okay, I'll comply, right? But on the hindsight, when I look back, I say, if only, right, I would have daydreamed further and more. Probably, right, I would have been more creative. Probably I will come up with better stories, narrative, and so which I didn't develop that. You know, so that is where on the hindsight, that's for me lah. If someone would ask me things that I would have learned when I was younger, I would have wanted to develop those areas.
It's actually very interesting that you brought up, oh, you wish you daydream more, because I had when I was in primary school, like a teacher had a very real remark for my parents that your daughter daydreams in class and they see it as a problem because you need to focus in class. So in a way, from there, I think the system kind of
kind of narrow and focus.
And they decided to find ways to help me focus. So one of the things was learning piano, to help me focus. But I think it's very interesting that you brought that up. Because for me, it was really the opposite. It was really that need to curtail that daydreaming, that wandering thoughts, that creativity. So it's very interesting.
Are we born in the same era? Or is it like classic? You know, this will go on. Whether is it from parents or is it from educators? I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it's built in the system.
Probably. But you know, I have a boy, and sometimes he does imagine. And that's where, as a parent, I felt that I should give him enough space for him to kind of imagine and use his imagination really well and kind of develop those areas. And recently, right, he came up with crazy stories that he will narrate to us. So, you know, usually before he sleeps, he will want the mom or myself to kind of read a story to him. Right? Now he's the one, at least for the past 2 nights,
telling the story.
He created his own story. And I was like, whoa, where did that come from? Where did the dragon come from? And then what did the knight do? You mean the knight died? And what happened after that? So he will kind of spin off his own story and tales, which I thought, that's fantastic, right? And then we kind of use the Lego sets to kind of make that story up. So I wish when I was younger, my parents would have just guided me.
But I think I speak like from a child's perspective. It's really good that I think more and more parents nowadays are letting their children really explore the creative side. I definitely notice a lot more of the kids and some of the students I work with, they really are allowed to explore art and their creativity more. And I think that would have been one thing I would have told myself, to not be afraid to curtail that creativity, because I have a very good secondary school friend. We have this notebook, I didn't bring it today because the content is quite embarrassing. We really made up our own story and we wrote it into a book during geography class. We weren't paying attention during geography.
In case your geography
yeah, my geography class. And I think it's great that more and more parents are like myself, really letting children be creative, be imaginative, that it doesn't clash with academics. It's a complementary.
So coming to this, right?
Yes.
Probably those that's online, if you have questions that you want to post to Anne, you can actually in the Twitch chat, right? You can actually post your question or comments, right? But I have a very interesting question that I thought maybe kind of bring up to you.
Sure.
If there is a chance, for you to go back in time, okay, in your younger days, so you probably tell us the year and then probably what age that you want to go back to, all right, without revealing your age too much, all right? At what age you would like to go back, and what are the areas that you wish to change, because now you kind of learn something that you wish that learn wisdom or learn some truth,
Okay.
and then you wish to go back and do that change.
Okay.
What would that be?
Okay, I think time-wise, I will go back about, let me count, how many years? More than 10 years ago, maybe when I was in Sec 3, secondary 3. I think we were talking along the lines of like using imagination, creativity. I think the first thing would be so I think through this line of work, the good thing is I learned about this concept of multiple intelligence. So it means that a person is more than just be book smart or math smart. They can be smart in other things like nature, or fitness, or words, or things like that.
Or music, language.
Yeah. So along the way, as I was kind of passing down this content to my students, I realized that actually there's a term for someone like myself who is more word smart, who is stronger in things like English, literature, and things like that. So what I would tell myself is, it's not that I'm really so bad at these subjects, because I think at that point in my life, when I was in Sec 3, I would very honestly say my self-confidence was very low. One of the areas that really caused that low confidence was my performance in school. I think there was a lot of comparison to how my peers are doing. Like, how come they can do so well, especially in maths? Because maths was my weakest subject. So my peers are able to process all these numbers, these concepts, but I had a lot of difficulty. Whereas for language, I seem to flourish in language, my English, my essays, my lit papers, and all those things. So I think I realized that maybe I may not be so-called fall under the math smart category, but maybe I'm word smart, and that's okay. Because somehow, I mean the very fact that I'm here, I'm working, I think that says quite a bit as well. I would tell myself not to worry about not really fitting into the mold of like being math smart.
Right. Sometimes it got to do with the direction that society was taking at the point of time.
Yeah.
And I remember that in my time, and probably it kind of spill over to your generation, although we are just like a few years apart, that we are moving into a very science, math, engineering kind of direction as a society, right? Manufacturing, engineering, and so on and so forth. Very little on arts, language, linguistics area. So that, or music, right? So therefore the whole emphasis and the whole focus is actually on developing on science and math.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like only one dimensional way of measuring a person's intelligence. But what you just brought up is there are different measuring of a person's intelligence in various ways, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So example like a fish, you can't say that the fish is incompetent or incapable if he doesn't know how to climb a tree, like a monkey, right?
Yeah.
But a fish is good in the sea.
Yes.
In the water.
Yes.
Right? Okay, cool. Nice. So this is going back to Sec 3, and with that wisdom, you'll like to change that.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Yeah. Is there any other areas that or age that you wish to kind of share with our audience also?
I think I will mainly stick with that age. Yeah, because I did think of, I mean, prior to this, I'm someone who likes to prepare. So I did think of some points, but particularly this age because when I was in uni, I took a developmental psychology mod where I learned about at the different stages, right? What happens to the person, what's going on in their brain. And one thing I learned from my prof was at around 14 or 15, that's where the kind of the teenager will kind of start thinking about, what's my identity? Who am I as a person? Or what do I value and things like that in my life? So I think I would still stick to that age. Another thing I would think about is friends, the area of friends and relating to people. I was very socially awkward in school. I was so quiet that I didn't bring my report home today. But 6 years of primary school, I tell this to my students also at training that the remark is the same. Anne is quiet in class. Anne is quiet in class. Anne is quiet in class. So for 6 years, my report card, I'm not joking, that's what it said. So I was very socially awkward and quiet. It was very difficult for me to make friends. It was even hard to make conversation with people because the things I like and the things that my schoolmates like is very different. So
I was something very new, no? That I didn't know this.
So I was from a girls' school. So at that point in time, what some things that are popular is like certain music, certain like shows and books and things like that. But for me, because I mentioned I'm a bookworm. Yeah. So I really like to read books. I really was into like general knowledge and things like that. But that doesn't really.
Oh, she's a walking encyclopedia.
That sent chills because that was my nickname in secondary school. So if my secondary school friends are watching, that nickname is I mean, I wear it with a lot of pride. I'm very happy with that. Like, you trust me to give you information. You're not going to Google it.
Right. She's a walking Google.
So it's very hard for me to make friends in school. I did face some ostracizing and things like that. So I really wrestled a lot with the question, is something wrong with me that I cannot befriend people? That was a very big question that I had. Will there be no way for me to make friends? Because I see around me, my classmates, they all have their best friends, their BFF already. But I was really just drifting through school, trying to find good friends. I mean, I did find good friends in primary school. I still am in contact with them. But I could really sense that tension while trying to make friends with others and really relating to others. So what I learned kind of going through life is it's impossible to really befriend every single person. And what I did was, there's always this advice that people say like, you shouldn't change yourself to fit with others, be yourself. Or they always say be yourself. Yeah, so for me, I don't know how to be myself. Right. And if for me being myself means it's not the way to win people over. Because I'm seen as the weird kid, the weird kid, the odd one out. So I tried to be like those more higher on the food chain in school kind of girls that flopped spectacularly because I only realized later that that's not me. I am uniquely myself. And also, but I also had to learn other things. I'm not saying I was a perfect person in school. I definitely made mistakes. I definitely have hurt others as well. If I'm to be, I will acknowledge that. But I will also say to myself that it's okay to not be able to be friends with everyone. It's just about a matter of time finding people who will click with me and that's okay. And I realized that so some of my very, very, very close friends, I only met them in university. So I always share this to people I know a lot, that they're probably some of the best people I know. And they're actually 180 degrees different from me, personality, interests, things like that.
Okay.
Very different, super outgoing, really like a bit party kind. Yeah, if they're watching this, they'll know who they are. But yeah,
You.
yeah. So really learning that sometimes it takes time to find people that I will kind of be able to fall into place with, find a sense of belonging with. Yeah, so that area of friends. So it's okay, and it takes time.
I believe, right, our audience, some of you might also be like Sec 3 or maybe in this stage of life, whereby you're also finding some difficulty making friends or having the same vibe and so on and so forth. So probably, right, we'd like to ask you, since we are in this topic right now, that on hindsight, one lesson you learned, right, you kind of mentioned that I can't make friends with all people.
Yes.
Alright?
Yeah.
But as you mature, as you grow, maybe some things about friendship kind of evolve and change.
Yeah.
And that's where, when it comes to uni, this stage, you actually found your group of good friends where you all kind of click until now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so probably you want to share with our audience, if let's say someone would come to you and says, share with me some tips, because I'm also an introvert, I'm also like a walking Google, and it's like a geek, kind of group of people. I cannot make friends, or rather, I struggle making friends, right? So, what are some tips that you would like to offer to them?
Oh wow!
If possible.
I did not expect that.
Unscripted.
Yeah, that's a very good question. How would I? Yeah, now I'm thinking about how would I advise myself being in that same position. I think the first thing I would say is not be afraid to live a little. Sometimes it really takes getting out of the comfort zone. I definitely had to get out of my comfort zone. Even simple things like saying, "Hi, my name is Anne," like introducing myself.
Right.
Yeah, and kind of breaking the ice a little bit. Like if I notice that, this person has a keychain or like some sort of pop culture reference that I like and I'm familiar with. Oh, great! Yeah,
it's a good point to kind of start on.
So kind of, yeah. But I think the toughest would be getting out of the comfort zone to really be willing to bridge that gap with people. Like not being afraid to reach out to people who are new to you.
Right.
Yeah, and not being afraid of people who are different from you. Yeah.
How would you leverage on, example, like your strength when you try to establish that first contact, or you want to bring the friendship further? Like example, your wealth of knowledge, walking encyclopedia.
Well, that is only limited to like book knowledge.
Okay.
Social knowledge and social norms, I'm not very sure. But how did I? That's a very good question.
Like for me, right?
Yeah.
I know that one of the thing that I enjoy doing, but I was kind of like told not to because I don't know, culturally or environmentally it's not acceptable. But I like to have fun, alright? I like to have fun and I like to make friends on people. Yeah. So actually, but I was told that no, it's not a good thing. Alright, from parents, from teachers, and so on and so forth. But what happened is, at 1 year, I'm trying to make friends with a group, right? In my poly years, with a group. So that's where I decided that can I have a little bit of fun and by playing certain tricks on them. So that's what happened. And okay, it just happened that group, alright, as I'm just like try and error, experimenting. A few of them are also kind of funny people. They are also fun-loving people. So when the trick was played on them, they were like, "Hey, this is fun," you know. Although it's like, you know, it's on them, they are the subject of the thing, but they also have their fun, and they realize that, hey, we kind of vibe well, and that's where we actually form a group. Actually, it's a bit cliquish though at the time, year 1 and year 2, and that's where we start to become good friends. So that's how I leverage on my mischievous and naughtiness to kind of vibe with that group. But after we have gone to NS and everything, and different stage of life, like what you say, right? At different stage of life, we may not be able to make friends with all types of people.
Yeah.
So at least I've experienced with one group, and I know that this group, at one stage it works, but as I grow and mature, it kind of fizzle out, and then that's where it ended. We didn't end our friendship, but we didn't really kind of keep in contact, right? So that's how I leverage on my strength at that point in time. So I'm just wondering what happened there.
I mean, as I was listening to what you said, there were some very interesting things. So obviously, if you look at me, you can tell I'm not a person who is good with like playing pranks. Yeah, because I'm a very high-I introvert. But I was thinking about it and I realized like I do use a bit of humor, but my humor is very dry. So I like in like subconsciously, sometimes I will roast my friends. Like they do something funny, and I think if any of them are watching, they know exactly who they are.
Well, you can give your comments.
Yeah. That shows that I'm comfortable with the person. That okay, you let me like roast you. Yeah, then okay, we're cool. So I think one of it was humor, and I think also a bit of like vulnerability. Like, oh, I'm the first to open up about myself. And as I was thinking back, there are friends who tell me that, oh, you know, you are just good at listening, and you don't judge me first. You don't like start talking, like firing back your comments. You listen first. Maybe so. Probably that's how I kept.
That's a good strength actually. That everybody is like. I wish that my friends were non-judgmental, pay more listening.
Yeah. And I think when you mentioned about how friendships fizzle out, I think thinking back, maybe that's something I would tell myself, that it is a normal part of life. Like there are some friendships that can be very seasonal, and at that phase of life, you know, it's very good. And naturally, sometimes people will drift apart. But I have some like, I can go very long without talking to them, and then we can reconnect.
Right.
Yeah, but I think I would tell myself it's normal. Yeah, because for me, I was someone who was very afraid of losing like my friends. Because for me, already it was so hard to make friends.
Right.
All the more I want to hold on.
That's right.
I want to hold on to my friends.
So for the audience out there online, you know, if you happen to be introvert and you happen not to, you have difficulty or challenges making friends, this is not totally a negative thing. It's more of figuring out, you know, how you can kind of establish the first contact. And you know, and all of us know, right, that things that doesn't come easy usually are the precious stuff. Alright? So that's where once you have that friendship, you will learn how to treasure it and then how to maintain that or even grow that friendship. So yeah, I like that point. Okay. So coming to this, right? If let's say, right, another question, if let's say there is something that you would like to tell your younger self. Okay, either a statement or a phrase of wisdom or something to kind of like remind your younger self or tell your younger self, what would you like to tell your younger end?
I think I've mentioned some of it already. Yeah, so about the multiple intelligence part, like being word smart is okay, and making friends. But I was thinking about another thing that I would tell myself would be that to really discover who I am and as a person, it takes time. I think when I was in secondary school, I looked around at my classmates and they seemed to have everything figured out. You know, I thought like, 15, 16, like, okay, they have life figured out, and they knew they had a lot of street smarts, a lot of life skills already at that stage of life. And I thought, oh my goodness, I'm very behind. they seem to know who they are, and really they express, they know how to express themselves, like what like pin badges they put on their back, what hair accessories they wear, what although it's not really allowed, but like bracelets and things. So a lot of that, they seem very self-assured in who they are. But I learned on hindsight that there's no way that someone is going to have themselves completely figured out at maybe 15, 16, Sec 3 or Sec 4. Yeah, I think it has taken me up to this point to learn who I am as a person. So things that I like, dislike.
So there's a certain process that you have, one have to go through, in order to figure that out.
Yeah, so definitely I would tell myself to kind of enjoy it a bit better, but also kind of relax a bit, because I think I really spend a lot of that time trying to be a people pleaser. So okay, what do I do so that I can get along with these people? How should I change the way I talk? What should I wear? What should the things that I should do? Even the stuff that I use, like the brand of stuff I use for school.
Right.
Yeah, so really letting myself find myself. Yeah, and it's okay to not have it figured out. And I think I also, a very big lesson I learned is, although a lot of people that I seem to know around me, they seem to have everything put together. But then only when I realized, going into the working world and the line of work I'm in, where I work with young people, with students, and I really get to sit with them and listen to what are the things they go through in the struggles, which is still very much the same. Nothing much has really changed. The search for myself, meaning, navigating my friendships and everything, that hasn't really changed. But yeah, just really kind of what was I going to say? Just taking that time to learn.
Through this conversation, as you go on sharing about your younger self and all this, I realize you're quite a fighter. Don't you think so? Actually, Anne is a fighter in her ways. Although it's not like violent kind of stuff, right? But actually, she's a survivor and she really fights. I'm having that sense, but you can correct me if I'm incorrect. Okay, as you grow up, when you felt that the world has one way of measuring you, like through academic, obviously, right? And seems to be telling us that we are not good enough, you actually fight against it. Instead of course, in our younger days, maybe we're kind of shaped by that, but as we grow up, as we mature, you actually fight against it, and you realize that you give yourself a bigger space. And then she says, hey, actually there's not just one way of measuring good or not. There are multiple ways. And that's also in the whole journey of discovery, right? And then the second one that you mentioned is about relationship, friendship, right? Usually in our teenage stage of life, we'll be very much bothered by, do I belong to this group? Am I accepted in this group? So on and so forth. And sometimes that creates a lot of mental stress, right? And yet, as you grow on and move on, you have gone through that in reality, that's being human, but you kind of grow up and you step out and you realize, and you fight again, it's like, no, it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to be friends with all people. Like what you say, be very comfortable with the few or the less, right? And then that's where you find really good, long-lasting friendship, especially in the uni days.
Yeah.
Till now, right?
I think first off, I'm very grateful for that final remark. I think it's a very nice thing to say, so thank you for that. Because I never really saw myself as a fighter. Because like I said, I wrestled a lot with the self-confidence. I think only at the right, so-called, I think part of it is timing. At the right time, at the right place, then I discover these certain things, and having the right people around also help.
Okay.
Yeah, I think definitely I don't take for granted that I have very good family support. So when I went through a lot of the down moments with friends and with school, I had very good support. And then, like I mentioned later in life, meeting good people. Not that along the way my other friends are bad or anything, but I think just at that particular point in my life, like what I really needed, somehow I managed to find it. Yeah, but also in a way, I think I'm a bit stubborn as well. If I really like want this and then I'll push past it. I think also my uni education helped also because I went through like the normal school system. Then when I went to uni, I went to a private uni, so they did the American system. So the way that the profs kind of taught us, how to think about things.
It's very different.
Yes,
right? I see.
A much broader view of looking at things, and rather than being a very one-way kind of channel, it was really like a dialogue that we had, and we'd be like, how come I never thought of this before? And really getting us to think about our ideas that we have, developing it, even though it seems simple, developing that opinion, that self. Yeah, so I think that part of education really helped me to flourish. Yeah, so I think maybe that's what contributed to it. Like it taught me to have that. And because I studied communication, so I'm not sure.
You majored there, right?
Yeah, that's my major. Yeah, I major in communication. Yeah, and I'm forced to talk every day. Yeah, from all my projects and my assignments and things like that. So I really have no choice but to really put myself out there and really push past all these obstacles. Yeah, because I had no choice.
Do you realize what the terms that Anne has been using? Wrestling, push pass, and you realize that these are really, if let's say I'm a very compliant person, if it's like I'm having a defeatist mindset, I would have succumbed to all this pressure from the external. But even though in the face of all this, you kind of push it through, endure it through, and see what is the outcome. And that makes up who you are today, as you mentioned, right? It's a process. And I think all of us are still in work in progress, right? So that's where, actually, right, as you're speaking, then I realized there's another topic that's kind of spin off. And probably in our future podcast recording, probably stay tuned again to this, because a lot of our Gen Z or younger people, recently there has been this hype and this talk about, it's a hot topic, we talk about mental issues, right?
For sure.
Mental challenges and all this. Yeah. And you see, if I grew up in an environment that tells me that I'm not good enough or I'm not there yet, and no matter how much effort I put in, it won't get me there, and so on and so forth. Even relationship, why after failure I'm not getting the kind of friends or relationship that I want. If it kind of all collapse, right, in my world, how do I kind of talk to myself? How do I communicate? And since you kind of major in that, probably, alright, I think it would be great to hear more in details of how you kind of communicate these things internally, and also how you kind of communicate that out as well. Okay, so probably, this might be a spin-off topic whereby we can hear more from you in details. Okay. So in closing, right, for this podcast, if there's, because online there could be younger people who are tuning into this and wanting to like kind of know how to be like a fighter like you, although you didn't kind of fully acknowledge that. Okay, if there's one advice or one reminder probably to our younger audience, what would you share with them to help them to struggle through, wrestle through, or fight through better?
Oh, wow. Okay. Let me space out and think about this and try to summarize.
So I mentioned about multi-intelligence, relationship, friendship, and then there's one more on
identity.
And it's a process, right?
I think one thing I didn't really like hearing, maybe I'll talk about what I didn't like hearing, maybe change that a little bit, was it gets better, because at that point in time when you hear it gets better, I was kind of in a situation where I really feel so down already and things like that. How do I know that it is going to be better? Rather than that, I will say that to maybe not it gets better, but it will get better, but a bit of tough love. You have to be willing to put in some work in yourself to kind of change certain situations, or if it's things that you cannot control. Sometimes it can be hard. We have to accept certain things we cannot control. So what can we control that can be changed to help improve our situation? Maybe it's kind of keeping distance from certain people, or maybe like me, if there's certain hobbies that are affecting like my work, academic progress, maybe think about what I should prioritize. Because one thing I learned at work is what big rocks, small pebbles. I did not know such a thing when I was in school. What are my big rocks?
Oh, I wish.
Yes. So, there are certain things that can be. They can be. And so I would say it will get better, but you have to be willing to put in that work. But at the same time, that it is okay, to take time and find those people around you who will help you reach that get better.
Right. So in summary, it's more of like just for the sake of audience. First is kind of know the difference of the things that you can change and the things that you cannot.
Yeah.
Right? Rather be stressed over the things that I cannot and then why I cannot. Right? So focus on the things that I can change. And when we focus on the things that we change, then we kind of take steps. It's not like all at one time I have to settle it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Even though it's like I may not know how to and what is the outcome, but I'm working on myself. Working on myself, I think it also includes probably a shift in perspective, trying a different experience. Let's say I don't like talking to people that is very domineering. Let me try approaching such a person to be my project mate, and then see what's the experience like and how I handle it. So a different kind of experience as well. So some work done on ourselves, right? And then see how we can kind of discover with clarity about ourselves and how we relate to people.
Yeah. Actually, I forgot. I wanted to add something. I think nowadays, the kids these days, what's great is they have a lot of online communities where they can make friends. So when I talk about my interests earlier, right? So nowadays they have a lot of these online communities. I think that's another good way to make friends and, like what you said, put yourself out there as well. But also be careful when you befriend people on the online.
Yeah, have you experienced something like this? Where
One of my best friends. I met them online. They're probably watching now. It was very interesting because we like the same group, but this group is a bit older, so definitely not on the radar of maybe some viewers. But we kind of befriended each other because of the interest online, and we have even met up. Yeah, we've even met up in real life, which is very cool. And we realized that we're very eerily similar. The way that we talk, what we like, and our humor, we are really on the same wavelength. Yeah, so we always joke our Bluetooth is very strong.
So that's where the vibe and frequency and everything is just hit off very well.
So I think it's like not being afraid to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So alright, so that kind of wrap up our today's session. Alright, our podcast, whereby things that I wish I knew when I was younger. And there are 3 to 4 takeaways, at least for me, as I'm hearing Anne's story and narrated. And that's where I think if I only knew what Anne has learned as well, right? I wouldn't be so narrow-minded. I wouldn't be so stressed up over the things that I couldn't change. But I might as well spend my energy on things that I can change and make myself a better version in the years to come. So thank you, Anne, for the time and sharing your nuggets of truth. Yeah, and we hope to, like I said, right, we spin off topic on mental issue, all this. Probably we'll hear more in details from you next time. Okay, thank you, Anne.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.